Hello, everyone. I'm Lorie Cahill, President of ROC Association and your Mountain West Director. Welcome to the ROC Association 2020 Regional Session. We'd like to first thank our sponsors and also ROC USA for making it possible to come together online for this event. We also want to thank each of you for your participation. You were on our minds during this difficult and stressful time, and always. We sincerely hope that you and your families are well. Our hearts go out to those who've suffered losses during this time, and we want you to know that we are there for you. We must remain strong in our mission of being better together by being there for our community members and supporting them in getting through this very difficult time. We're excited to be here with you today, and we recognize you all for the many efforts that you have put forth in making your community safe, secure, and beautiful places to live. Let's talk a bit about ROC Association. Who are we? What does ROC Association mean to us? ROC Association was formed in 2013. The association's membership includes every ROC that has been supported by a ROC USA network affiliate, reaching back to 1984 in New Hampshire and beginning in 2008 outside of New Hampshire. 3 directors of ROC Association are split up into regions. Kim Capen of New England region, Marjory Gilsrud of Midwest region, and myself, Lorie Cahill from Mountain West region. Each is elected by the boards of ROCs in their region. They serve a 3-year term with a 2-term limit. We represent each of the communities in our region on the ROC USA board. As directors, we participate in all ROC USA board meetings each year. Usually 3 are in Washington, D.C., and 1 is virtual, although this year they are all virtual. Our role is to give other directors and community members voice at the table. What's happening in our communities, what our needs, accomplishments, strategies, and goals are, as well as helping with governance. We also spend time connecting with other community leaders across the country, helping them to meet their challenges and encouraging engagement and leadership, as well as recognizing needs and also accomplishments. We raise your voices up nationwide at events, on the radio, and in the newspaper. We are always warmly welcomed and supported by all ROC board members. Working with ROC USA and all of you in our mission to preserve affordable housing has truly been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It is my sincere hope that if you are considering stepping up to this great opportunity, that you run for it in your next election. We need you, and I promise you I'm better for it. There's nothing better than helping this movement drive forward nationally. My term ends on 12/31/20, so the West region is up this year. Next year will be the New England seat, and in 2022, the Midwest will be up for election. I also like to touch on the topic of peer support. On one of our last calls, Kim made a statement that caught my attention, and I wanted to share it with each of you. He said, self-reliance is the slow path to successful governance and problem solving. This rang true for me in the beginnings of my leadership experience. After some, I'll call maturing in my leadership role, I learned to acknowledge the expertise of everyone who lives in a ROC. My own community leaders and my neighboring ROC members, both near and across the country. The peer support I've had across the board has largely been responsible for the successes seen by our communities across the country. We are always better together. Please stay engaged, meet other leaders, reach out and problem solve together. It really works, and you will make new friends. Take care, everyone, and thank you for all you do to make resident ownership work. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the resources that we have. And I'm going to start out with our neighboring ROCs. We're very fortunate here in my community. Our neighbor to another ROC, only separated by a fence. One of the many great resources that other ROCs can provide is fostering new relationships with people who share your same goals, challenges, and interests. Everyone has experience or expertise in things that can help you or your community. You can also oftentimes get services such as lawn care at a better rate if you are both using the same company. Oftentimes you can get recommendations that are helpful as well from others who have experience you may not have had before. And don't forget, it is great to plan celebrations and events together, sharing costs and responsibilities. Now let's talk about your TA providers. Our TA providers are a real lifeline to us all. They are there to help in educating us on how to do things we need to do as boards and as community members. How to have a good board function, help with finding property managements, and planning and completing projects. How to plan our budgets, and many more things. They inspire us to learn and grow with our communities by holding regional trainings and often there to help you figure out a tough situation that needs an extra ear to listen to. They are a true friend in educating us to become the best we can for our communities. Let's also talk about ROC Association directors. I already talked about what we are and what we can do. I would like to talk about what it is like. I am finishing up my second term this year, and it has been an experience, I promise you, that has changed my life. As I said, there is nothing better, nothing better than representing ROCs nationwide, and I have learned much, so much along the way, in addition to finding my voice and growing as a leader. There's something about being a ROC Association director and bringing your voices to the table to find ways to keep our communities strong and moving forward that really completes a person that has a passion for our mission to not only preserve affordable housing, but to make it better together for our families and our futures. It is exciting to meet new people and to travel to new and great places, to care deeply for all of our communities and to be ever mindful of the importance of our position and how we represent ROCs to others. Just as I learned to be president on our community's board of directors, I also learned to take the next step to a ROC Association leader. I had no experience at being a leader. I did have a passion for the ROC model and for people living in them, and I always will. Without you, there would be no us. You are our greatest asset. Now I'm going to turn the conversation over to Marjory to talk about some of our other important resources that we have.
Peer support is also very important. Chances are someone has been through what you're going through. Reach out. What did they do? Would that work for you? They can support you and be that sounding board. Don't feel alone. The Outreach and Education Committee is working on helping others, be it a new ROC or someone thinking of becoming a ROC. We are looking at helping TA providers be in that first-hand experience and what it is to live in a ROC, helping answer questions. We want to help at regional events by getting people involved and helping them if we can. And every region has regional events. Ask your TA provider when yours is. With COVID-19, yours may be postponed or held virtual this year. Attending regional events is a great way to meet others at your region and to learn. Also, ROI is where people from across the United States, all living in a ROC USA community, come together to network and learn. This year, as you know, it is virtual, but we're resilient and we will get through this together. We are better together. There's also the myrocusa.org. Please sign up and encourage others to do the same. Here you can get up-to-date current information and what is happening in our communities. blogs from Paul Bradley and the ROC Association directors. Here you can find discounts and communicate with other ROC leaders and much, much more. Kim? You're on mute, Kim.
Kim, you're still muted. I can't unmute you for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I have Verizon. Welcome, everyone. Sorry for that lip sync. Didn't work. But in any case, thanks for coming. As you can see, there's a theme here, and it's all about us as communities and the resources that are available to us. And I'm going to talk a little bit about another resource. So thanks for taking the time out of your day to be here. We're going to explore a little bit more about the premise that we are better together and on our own. And there's a lot of things that have been talked about that happen regionally. You have a TA provider, you have regional training and all that. But when you consider the entire community, there are literally thousands of years of experience in governing and managing a cooperative in our 37 years of ROC community existence. If experience is the best teacher, then I figure collectively we have several doctorates in ROC leadership. We can't probably perform brain surgery, but we can put a big dent in anything that is troubling a community, because we all have faced some of the same issues, and some very successfully. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I figure there's basically 3 buckets that we could put all of our issues into. The first bucket is people, and probably the biggest and most challenging of all the buckets that I'll talk about. We're constantly dealing with member rules violations, board members behaving badly, bickering neighbors, a rumor mill that disrupts the unity of community. These disruptions in our community hinder our efforts at getting volunteers. The second bucket is community maintenance. Things that I would put in that are a lot of the infrastructure issues, care of common area, landscaping, clubhouse care, big infrastructure things like water, sewage, electric problems, cable, phone, road conditions, trees, drainage, list goes on. Funding for these is the greater challenge, as they are the most always the big ticket items that we can't live without. And there's a lot of major projects that have been done within our communities, with people just taking a little time and seeking out ways to get funding, in many cases grants as opposed to loans, which we want to stay away from if we can. The third bucket deals with governance, and that mainly affects the board members in your community. With elections every year, you have the issues of getting folks to run for the board. Sometimes that's the biggest challenge. Then finding the best resources and methods to orient board members so they learn to govern as members of a cohesive board. We're always working on ways to eliminate the rumor mill, to include best communication methods for community, to ensure that there is total transparency in the management and governance of our communities. The more folks know and are informed, the more interest they take in governance. The lack of trust of board members usually stems from a lack of communication and transparency. There's 2 things I always emphasize to folks, is that the 2 things that we should always be cognizant of is how well we're communicating and how much we're communicating. Communication and transparency. Tackling the many issues in these buckets successfully can be immensely enhanced by getting some insight from those who have gone before us and have successfully and even not so successfully addressed them. Knowing what not to do is sometimes just as important to avoid the pitfalls of failure. Gary Fosher, when addressing a room full of ROC leaders, regularly suggested that the experts were in the room. Well, when you figure the number of ROC leaders we have, and there isn't an issue out there that somebody hasn't faced and multiple somebodies haven't faced. I say again, we and our peers in ROCs across the country have collectively dealt with every issue possible over the 37 years of ROC existence. Your TA providers have already helped ROC leaders navigate a lot of issues you will face. So they're a great resource, as Lorie mentioned earlier. And there are 260 communities in our network, over 260 communities in our network, with board members and committee chairs that have dealt with all possible issues you will ever face. Together, we have answers that might best fit your special circumstances. When it relates to people, there is no one-size-fits-all solution, as we all know. Every situation we face is a little bit different, a little unique. However, the combination of solutions by others could very well help with a tailored and creative solution for your situation. For these reasons, your ROC Association directors want to be the catalyst for fostering a network of peer support to help us all deal with the challenges of day-to-day operations of our communities. Collectively, we've got answers. Collectively, we can support the entire network in improving our operations. I don't have all the answers, and I would wager that no one has all the solutions to all our challenges. But collectively, we are a pretty smart group of owners. I suggested earlier that collectively we have a doctorate on issues in each of the bucket issues. Well, the doctor's in, and we want to put our collective knowledge to work to the benefit of all of us. To start with, we need an awareness of, sorry, I've lost my place, and as you can tell, I'm keeping notes. To start with, we need better awareness of and more opportunities to communicate with each other. There are communities around the country that are already taking time to visit each other. Lorie mentioned that earlier. You have communities around you that are facing issues. Now I want to talk a little bit about the larger community that we have around us that have faced a myriad of challenges successfully. A couple of years ago, the association initiated what we called peer conference calls, and we had them every other month. The calls themselves were quite enjoyable, and the issues leaders were facing were brought to the group for their thought on how best to handle each of the issues. The problem we had were getting organized for the calls as they were not frequent enough. Many times the agendas were limited by the lack of participants, usually 8 to 12, including association directors. Sometimes the agendas were too general in nature, or we didn't have enough experience within the smaller group to deal with specific issues that folks are facing. The lack of folks with that specific experience was sometimes replaced with untried suggestions. So we still think there was merit in those calls, and we want to take another stab at it. We think we can improve upon it, and especially with this in this day of virtual meetings, we can actually look at each other and talk about the issues that we're facing. We want to look at what contributed to the limited successes and to address the attendance issues with better and more consistent communication of the existence of peer networking. Additionally, by reformatting the agenda, providing for both targeted and spontaneous agenda items, and adding into the equation video, giving us the feeling of being together in the same room, we believe we might be able to improve upon what we started. What we've hoped for is that while folks are dealing with an issue, one of the thoughts will be to join the next call for possible guidance and solutions. The ability to be spontaneous, respond to real-time problems will be much more beneficial. I mean, the reason is if you're dealing with a problem in November, next February's call or opportunity for solution is not going to be of any value to you. People, community, and governance, along with 20 to 30 minutes to address specific issues membership brings, will be the buckets that we'll talk about as part of the format. But we're all also going to have at least half of the meeting dealing with spontaneous issues, something that's come up. What we hope for is that with enough communication, with you talking it up at your regional meetings, your TA providers talking it up, people, when they're facing an issue, wondering how they're going to solve it, may it just click with them that, oh yes, there's an association call, virtual call coming up. I'm going to bring it to the table. Someone there will be able to be helpful. Attendance is helpful. As more experience we have in the room, the better chance we have of real-time solutions. We're better together. We know that. And there are many ways of communicating, working together. These monthly calls are just one opportunity for peer support, perhaps. However, this could be, we hope this is the catalyst to being more helpful on a national basis. There'll be a general invite to all board presidents through you and to all those attending of this year's and last year's RLI. Our plan is that the first meeting will be in September, and established agendas for the first few will be your thoughts on what has been most critical of issues you face in your communities. This is our third regional session, and we've queried the other two regions with what's foremost on their mind that would fit into these three buckets. And we're going to do the same today. Kate's going to set up she has set up a whiteboard. And so I'm going to ask Lorie to sort of take over at this point, and we're going to do a little brainstorming and hear from you what you think would be great topics for these regional calls. Lorie, take it away.
So we're just going to invite you, like he said, to help us come up with a list of topics that are most relevant to today's issues that you guys are facing, so that we can know what some of the important topics to discuss on our upcoming calls. So I invite you guys to put some conversation out there about some of the things that you guys are facing that fall into these three buckets.
Maybe
Anybody?
we could, can everybody can unmute at this point. If you'd
I'll
like.
unmute everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because that's the first, don't fall into my trap.
Did everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Most,
So how about governance on your boards? Any problems with that?
This is Tina from Takesa Village.
Yeah, Tina.
One of the biggest problems we're having is how to actually conduct board business in a capacity that's official. Right now, we're just meeting weekly and taking care of actions without a meeting and recording what we're doing, but we haven't actually been able to have a full board meeting due to our state restrictions.
Okay.
And we have an annual meeting coming up and we're not quite sure how we're going to handle it.
Okay.
when is your annual meeting, Tina?
It's in November and our quorum minimum is 67, I believe. So we would be outside of any state mandates that we're allowed to have that kind of a gathering.
Yeah, have you tried doing meetings on a Zoom or virtual basis?
We do have them weekly, but they're not official board meetings because it's really hard to kind of facilitate that through the entire membership of 160 some homes and get everybody to log into a ring so it's actually an official open board meeting that anybody can attend. I think is where we're at. If it's not open for everybody, then it's not really a board meeting.
How many people attend your board meetings when you had them live?
Anywhere from 0 to 20 or 30, just depending on what the issues were.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's exactly what you experience with virtual too. We do them virtually, and we have uh, probably, I think the most we've ever had is 25. But we let everybody understand that it's a board meeting. We give them their 15 minutes of conversation before and whatever they need after the meeting. But we conduct a regular board meeting virtually. It seems daunting, but it really, I would recommend you give it a shot. And we're gonna do something similar to our annual meeting. We have our annual meeting the first Saturday in November, as well, like you, and we're gonna have to do voting by drive-up ballot in the community, and we're gonna do a virtual meeting a couple of like on a couple of nights before the balloting starts.
So on a couple of those points, we've thought
Yep.
about that. Then we worry about the percentage of members that will complain about being disenfranchised because they don't have computers and don't believe in computers. And then with the drive-up voting, we think about that, but who's going to handle all of those ballots and possible contamination? Because we have a lot of board members that are high risk. So it's looking at every little spot of this. It's just, it's
Yeah.
very,
Oh, just
Yeah,
out of
it's a
curiosity,
drive-by, drop your ballot in a box, keep going.
And then
but
am I correct, you know, because like I had heard like after something sits for, is it like 48 or 72 hours, it's no longer supposed to be contaminated or whatever. So like if the ballots were all dropped in a box and if it's left there and you wait like 72 hours before you open it to go through, I don't know if that's an option.
yeah, what we're gonna do is, I mean, we'll wear masks. Everybody will have gloves on. They'll have gloves to open the ballots and count them. But we're actually going to give people 3 days to vote. So we're going to have a meeting. Our meeting is going to be the Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. There'll be 2 hours each day. That there'll be somebody at the clubhouse. You'll drive by, drop your ballot in a box. They'll register you as having voted, and the actual virtual meeting that we do on a Wednesday night will be informational only. No voting taking place, no conversation, just this is what you got in your packet. We'll talk about why it is what it is. And because at that you could have because it's an annual meeting, you could have 100 people there. No way you can conduct that virtually.
and how are you counting your quorums on an annual virtual meeting?
The way our bylaws read is that if we have to have a situation where we have to have a vote outside of an annual meeting for anything for the community that requires membership vote, we can do it, except for you need 50%. Our quorum is generally 33%, but 30%, I think. But you need to do it that way. You need 50% of the people voting in favor of whatever the initiative is. So as an example, our budget, we're going to try to limit what we conduct for business. We're not going to do rules changes or anything else like that. But as it relates to voting for the budget, you need 50% of your members to vote in favor of it for it to be official. And that's how our bylaws read. We can do a non in-person meeting or initiative by doing it that way. So that's the reason we came up with that as a possibility.
So when they vote on your budget, is it just going to be on the ballot that they're dropping off for your board seats as well as a yes or a no?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. There'll be a ballot that says I vote yes to approve the budget. I vote yes to approve the capital budget, and these are my votes for board members that are running for office.
Okay, and then
But,
if you don't get enough ballots that are dropped off to count towards your quorum, then
then it reverts to last year's budget and last year's office holder. Well, you wouldn't have reverted to last year's office holders because you have, the likelihood that we wouldn't have at least 30% of our members vote is slim because we don't have a problem making quorum where it's on site and they just got to drive by and drop their ballot off. I don't think we'll have a problem. And we're giving them 3 different days and times to do it. So I don't think we're gonna have a problem. I think we're gonna get, the thing is good communication, a packet that says, you really need to do this for the community to continue its business. I don't think we'll have a problem getting half of the people, at least half of the people. We've done initiatives before where we needed this for something that we were doing in the community that required a membership vote. And we got like 70% of the community to come in.
Wow.
But anyway, I know I know we're taking a lot, but I wanted to talk about this with you, Tina, now because I think the call that we get in September, we may not get. Well, actually, we probably will get to talk a little bit about how we're conducting meetings. But that's an important topic, conducting meetings in this environment and how best to do it and how to be able to stay transparent and communicate all that's going on in the community. It's a challenge, no doubt about it. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions you have. You can always reach out to me or Lorie for that matter when we've got answers. We've got possible solutions, I should say.
There you go.
Well, I
Kim?
super appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
That was a really good question to bring up.
Yep, it is. Yep, these are different times.
Mary brought up recruiting willing participants to run for board and succession planning.
Yeah, good topic. We Marjory and I did a little seminar around some of this just a few days ago with some folks in New York. Nobody wants your. Go ahead, Lorie.
I think, it's a really difficult thing, but I am really pretty passionate about this part because, it seems that it's really common for a board to get settled in and it is that board forevermore. They switch places and
well, we're pretty strict about term limits, but sometimes you're right. I mean, sometimes it's almost impossible to be that strict. But I guess
sometimes
the question,
they don't have those limits.
Yeah, the question is,
place.
Well, that's yeah. If you force something, sometimes most of the time it'll happen. But the biggest question is, why doesn't somebody want your job? Why does nobody want? No, why doesn't somebody want your job? And I think it's incumbent upon us as board members to be aware that nobody wants my job and to start doing things that would make my job look a lot more attractive. If you're going around your community saying, this job is about answering resident complaints and sending out fines for rules violations, that's not how to get somebody to get your job.
I don't want your job.
Nobody wants to do that.
Unfortunately, a lot of us have come a long ways in getting property management to take over some of those responsibilities that would, put a rift in between members and board. When you're having to, send out notices that aren't great, or you have to talk about eviction or any of those things. And that was a great plus for us to be able to take that off of our shoulders.
Yeah, somebody else's job.
A lot of people are afraid because they feel like they don't know enough. They don't have enough experience in leadership. this is where you grow it. This is where you learn about it. We've all, most all of it, all of us, didn't have any experience with leadership. And so, you know, there are, as we explained before, there are many resources for helping you to learn and grow. And your membership will help you the most. You'll learn things along the way with your membership that make you a better leader. You know, when I sit in meetings, board meetings and member meetings with our own community, I'm usually looking around at people and listening to people who I think kind of show an interest, or they definitely show the qualities that we'd love to see in leadership in our own communities. And there's always people out there. Talk to them, pull them aside and say, hey, have you ever thought about being a board president? Or have you ever, I noticed that you're a bookkeeper down at the bank or something. Would you have any interest in being a secretary? Or, you know, it doesn't have to be related to what you do as work, but it can be also. So those are some of the things, and just let them know that you think, you know, hey, you strike me as someone who would be a really good leader. What do you think about giving that a try? So us promoting, while you are a leader, promoting members up to feel good about taking that position is I think really important too.
What else? People, community maintenance, and governance.
Just as in chat there, somebody had just wrote that with being, it says that we closed on 3/2 and have an intern board struggling, and and how we will go just our permanent board election, then the annual meeting is daunting as well. It's tragic. We got shut down and have had none of the in-person assistance we were promised.
When you say in-person assistance, what was that exactly?
Well, that means like we had people from our TA coming down from CASA of Oregon and
Okay.
helping with our meetings. And we closed and we shut down right after we got handed off from our pre-buying person to our person who was going to support us after the purchase. And so that was a little awkward, but they've been really, really good and supportive about setting up these virtual meetings. And the board has just come to my house and looked at the computer, and I set up a speaker so that we could hear better. And now we're going to order a conference call thing so that everyone can hear us better. And that's been okay because we're only a 4-member board. And we have the usual suspects, if you know what I mean, that call in to the meetings. Mm-hmm. But it's always the same.
Right.
And, you know, I put out papers and papers and papers and on the Facebook and to emails. And, like, we didn't even get a list of contact information for all our members. We don't even know who lives in some of the houses. So, like, we still have, like, 30 of our leases not signed. And, you know, we were told that we were going to do a training with another ROC nearby through ROC USA, I think. And, of course, that can't happen.
Right.
So it's been really rough. So we are really, really trying to figure out how we're going to do our permanent board election, because now we have a couple other people interested in being on the board. And, you know, maybe not everybody wants to be on the board forever.
Yeah, sure. So I know I have experience in exactly what you're talking about. When I first became a president on the board of our community here at Green Acres, we had a previous president who had run off with all the paperwork,
Oh,
not to be found. And so we had a good deal of people without membership agreements. And I was new. I had just recently moved into the community. And so one of my first things to do was to go and talk to each person who lived here. Now we're 32 lots. So we're a small community, and I was able to do that. And also we were not shut down with COVID-19. So I was able to go from house to house, which you are not able to do. So it makes it really, really tough and a big challenge. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, how do they do that outside of all the paperwork that you spoke about?
right. And then none of my other board members want to do things like this because they don't do computers. So
Yeah, that's really tough.
So anyway, I really liked Kim's ideas there, and I was hoping if I could get in touch with him and maybe see what he's got, if he's got anything written down for those procedures. That sounds really interesting. Sounds like a great way to do it that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is Mary from Hidden Village. We're a microscopically small co-op, 20 homes, but we have all our paperwork and our processes pretty well established. We'd be very happy to help you with your, sounds like terrible challenges. Whoever that was who was just talking.
Heather.
Heather, awful. It sounds awful. If there's any way we could help, our board would be very happy to share whatever documents we have or anything. But I would really like to see some kind of a contact membership list or something that we could contact each other.
That's what we're talking about.
Thank you, Mary.
Your support.
What was that? What was that?
I don't know.
It was the doorbell.
Oh,
No, just kidding. I have no idea.
I was like, I don't have a doorbell.
I dropped my phone.
Thank you, Mary.
oh,
Yes, thank
you're
you.
very
Yes.
welcome.
That, like Kim said, that's what we're talking about. You know, use each other and help each other to solve some of these things. Everybody has ideas to be heard.
And all of us have needs.
Yes,
So,
Yeah.
much the same needs.
Yeah.
How about anything else out there? Did we have any infrastructure issues? Grant issues?
we're having a real struggle. I doubt anybody else has dealt with this, but I could bring it up.
Sure.
We have 5 acres, and we recently had a survey because we're next door to a manufactured home community that is not a co-op. It's privately owned. It looks like one of those Warren Buffett corporate ones.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, our surveyor was showing us the exact end of our property. Turns out that the previous owner of our community, but before it was a co-op, had some kind of verbal agreement with these people next door. And there's a chunk of land, probably not a huge chunk, but a few hundred square feet that they're claiming as adverse possession. So they're like stealing our property. All we want to do is trim some trees because it came up in an inspection that some trees had to be trimmed. And this guy is saying, you can't come back here. Those are our trees. And we're like, no, here's our survey. You can look at the survey. Those are our trees. And he said, well, we've been on it for 12 years. So too bad. We had no idea of it. Our initial funding or initial mortgage survey didn't show it. Our refinance survey in 2018 didn't show it. Nobody knew anything about this adverse possession. So now we've got this chunk of land that we have to decide what to do. So the community decided we're just going to let the guy have it and then refund us all the property taxes from over the years. But and then he's responsible for those trees. But we had to check with both of our funders. One is Washington Community Reinvestment Association, and the other one is Department of Commerce, through HUD, because we're low income.
Mhm.
So we're still in the process of finding out if this would invalidate our mortgage or our money. So our funding, we can't risk that. So anyway, that's kind of a weird situation.
And so this piece of land that they claiming adverse possession, have they been actually utilizing it? Is it a driveway? Is it a right of way? What is?
No, it's just a grove of trees, but the trees need work. They have not been maintaining the trees. There are dead branches, dead limbs, some overgrown.
But if a survey says it's your land, I'm puzzled as to how they can claim adverse possession.
Well, because of the longevity of it, is our attorney says that that's the where we're vulnerable. We never said anything for 12 years, and now we're making a big deal of it.
But nobody's used it.
Well, he thinks he's using it.
Oh, okay.
There's also
But
a
if he's
fence.
never trimmed any trees,
No, he's never trimmed any trees. He's not taking care of the property. And if those trees fell right now, then it would be our liability. But we can't get in there because he's just saying you can't come over here. We've stolen your property. He came right out and said that in an email. This is ours now. And I forget the term he used. It was some legal thing, but basically he said, we've just taken your property from you. So our attorney has given us several options about how to deal with it. We've decided just let him have it and then he can deal with the trees. It's just a weird situation.
Yeah.
But
You
in the
don't run across
meantime,
it.
we're paying property taxes on that. He's not. And he thinks he's using it. That's the barrier between his community and ours, is this big grove of trees.
Interesting.
But every single day, I've been on the board now 4 years. My term is maximized. At the end of this year, I have to be off the board for a year. I learn something new every single day in this job as treasurer. Every single day. So
Yes,
it's an absolute education.
certainly is.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Mary mentioned that she is up. You're at the end of your term, your third term,
Second.
your second term, and then you won't be able to run for after the third term, because aren't they 2-year terms?
In our particular community, they're 2-year terms. And I've had 2-year terms, and after 4 years on the board, you have to take a year off. According to our bylaws.
Okay, in our bylaws, I got a little confused because in our bylaws, it says 3 consecutive 2-year terms. And I brought this question up during a board meeting with a it doesn't matter who. But it sound well. The person said that you can continually be on the board, irregardless of how many. Even after you do three, even though our bylaws say three, no director shall serve more than 3 consecutive 2-year terms. So I'm confused because, I'm going by that, but then it sounded like what I was told was that a person that's served that time could jump onto another position on that board and continue serving, and there's no break in between. I mean, it doesn't need to be a break in between.
That's what it sounds like for you.
Yeah, I think that if it doesn't spell out, if it just says 6 years on the board, whatever position you hold, you're on the board.
So if you hold 3 consecutive 2-year terms on the same position, and according to the bylaws, can you jump to another position?
No,
And serve another
it
6
depends on
years?
how the bylaws read. If they say 6 years on the board, it doesn't say 6 years as in a position on the board or as a president or as a treasurer. If it says 6 years on the board, that is 6 years on the board.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
Anything else?
How are people doing with getting volunteers?
Not that great.
I'm
That's
not on the
right.
I'm not on the board, but anymore at this time. But I have noticed a lack of volunteerism. Even people coming to our board meetings is very, very slim to none.
I think it's a challenge always.
It's always a challenge.
Comes up always. We
And
have a
some
new
of it-
president. Our new president started her term January of this year. And she's done a lot of work with, again, back to what Kim said around communication. She's always sending around notice and good stuff, like nice to see you if you need anything, COVID, whatever. And I think that's helping. We also, the Facebook stuff, I think the communication's really helping. But yeah, it's like pulling teeth. But it is, I think, the constant positive messages from her, frequently and getting buy-in and asking people's opinion. I think that's been helping.
Oh, I guarantee it. It's helping some way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
May I ask, Mary, how many is in your community?
20. We're tiny.
Oh, mhm.
We're very small, which makes a 7-member board. Well, now we're going to go to a 5-member board, but that makes it really challenging when we're pulling people out of their homes, and saying, you must run. We can't fall apart. So, but yeah, she has really sort of changed the nature of our culture here. She's done a really, really good job. And right now, the vice president is up for re-election. We're going to do voting at our annual meeting in September. We have, I think, 3 people running for vice president. That's never happened.
That's
good.
fabulous.
Wow.
That's good.
Fabulous, right?
That is.
Yeah,
It is
she's done it.
fabulous.
She's done a tremendous job. She was supposed to be in this meeting today. Maybe she isn't here. Peggy, are you here?
I'm here.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about you. Are your ears burning? He has done an incredible job. So we're not really struggling so much today with volunteering.
That's fabulous. Fabulous to hear.
Also, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Also, I found that if it's more of a structured type of volunteering, you put out a notice that we're going to be doing X and X. Please meet at Cheryl's house at such and such a time. If it's more structured, we're getting more volunteers. If that
Yeah,
helps at all.
That's helpful.
Yep.
That is really helpful.
Yeah,
I think-
specific little tasks that only take 2 hours or whatever.
Exactly. We're going to paint the speed bumps Saturday morning from 11 to 2. Can you give us a hand? Anybody that can meet at Cheryl's house at such and such time. It seems like a funny little small thing, but it really does help with the volunteerism.
The whole point is for people to be involved in their community.
Right. There seems to be one of the issues here is communication out to the community, and getting it out there that we need volunteers to do certain tasks, or projects, or be on the board, or and participate. So I like to hear the positive things that Peggy has done. Thank you, Mary, for sharing that.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm her biggest fan.
I'm glad you
Well, she's got a half a dozen more fans now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well she
I'm
should.
her fan.
Thanks, guys.
Another thing we're struggling with a little bit is people feeding wild animals, like leaving food out,
Oh, yeah.
rotten food. And we don't have any, we've looked into it, we don't have any state laws or county codes against it. So it falls back on us. We don't have an actual rule that says you can't feed the wildlife. And we know people feed the birds, but they're leaving rotten food out, and now we have rats. So
Yeah, you
that
might
wildlife?
do well to have a rule.
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to probably have to add one, because we've got coyotes like right outside our neighborhood.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
around our borders. We don't. Yeah, attracting raccoons and stuff like that's probably not a good idea.
No.
No,
we
it's
have the
not a
sa-
good idea.
We have bears here.
Yep, here
You have
too.
what? You have what?
Bears.
Bears
Oh yeah.
and wildcats. So yeah.
Oh
We
my
have-
gosh.
We have fisher cats, bear, deer. Occasionally we'll see an eagle, but fox, and we have rules. You cannot feed them.
Well,
That's-
the deer have the run of our neighborhood, and the eagles are always here, but nobody's feeding them. The deer just take what they want off the apple trees that people have. Like nobody's really feeding them, I don't think.
Yeah.
What
The
are
raccoons can be a real problem.
I don't mind them as much as the rats. Peggy has got 2 rats recently.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like so done. I'm ready to like move.
Yeah, I wouldn't be liking the rats.
Where are you, Mary and Peggy?
Olympia,
Oh, and okay. You're close by.
where are
I'm
you?
in Montana, Flathead Lake area.
Oh yeah. Is that up by never mind.
It's between Missoula and Kalispell.
Kalispell is the word I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're located on the Flathead Reservation here.
Oh yeah, yeah. We went when I lived in Spokane. We took your route to go up to a glacier. I love your area. It's beautiful.
Beautiful
It
country.
is.
Can't eat it, but it's beautiful.
That's right.
Okay, back to the rules on you can't feed the animals. You said you have some. Can you tell me a little bit about the rule and how it's enforced? Back to the gentleman.
Kim,
It's the same as any other rule, and enforcing any rule. You've got to catch somebody doing it in order to enforce it. But we have a rule that says that the only thing you can feed are the birds, and even that I think there's 6 months out of the year, you can't have bird feeders out because we have a bear population around here that would be a real problem if we didn't do that. But we've had people find out people were feeding animals and take pictures of the food in their backyard, and we've witnessed it and sent them notices, and we have a process that if you don't heed the notices, you get fined.
Okay.
That's
Would you be willing to share the language in your rule with us?
Oh, sure,
That would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
no problem.
I would like to add on the pest issue or rats. We recently signed a contract with a pest control company who made us an outstanding deal. They're a quarter of the price. They're a huge company, and that's probably why. But what we put in our contract is they come out and they do 3 quarters out of the year. They maintain all of our buildings, like our office and our garage and our pool house. And then we also had them include up to 40 properties at a time that they would deal with either rodents or ants or whatever you may have. So every quarter we have a whole section that's going to be treated or repeat treated. And I can give you their name. They're a huge company, they're regional. And I already talked to one of their associates out there about seeing what kind of breaks they could make for co-ops if, like, again, a bunch of us sign up.
Wow, great idea.
That's Marjory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was Tina.
Does
Okay,
anybody
Tina.
have problems with hunters bringing in carcasses?
Yeah.
Because that attracts the bears here within our community. So I would like to see something like maybe a fine or something, because it's regular every season. Hello? That dropped like a brick.
I think that's something you'd have to bring up with your board too and decide about whether putting that as a rule or stating that
You can't do it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's it's basically feeding the animals.
It's dangerous for the children and, well, anybody here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
Here in Washington, thank heavens, we do have laws for carnivorous animals. You know, if you live in an area where there's bear and that type of thing, you can bring fish and game into it, but not for little things like squirrels and rats. And I did check here on getting a service in to do it, and it was, oh my God, it was over $1,000 for the initial one and $325 a month after that. It was just, I mean, we're only 20 units. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I would appreciate the name of your company.
Any other things to add? We got pretty full list here on most of our 3 different issues. So
Yeah, I've got a question for the group. Who's gonna show up at the September 5 virtual call?
I will. Oh, I will.
Good.
I'm,
wonderful.
I don't remember hearing about this. I'm sorry, what is it?
Is it?
September 5 is the first virtual call. You're going to get an invitation to join it. We're going to talk about some of the issues that we've talked about today, and some issues that will be formatted like this. And then there'll be some issues that you have on spontaneously. You've got an issue you're dealing with real time right now. You'd like to have some support or some help with solutions. And we're doing those every month, the first Saturday of the month.
12 Eastern, 11 Central, 10, is it, whatever one comes next, then 10 and 9. What comes next? Is it Mountain and then Pacific or however that works?
Yeah, I think it's
Mountain
Mountain
is the
Pacific.
earliest.
At what time?
So
So it's East Coast noontime.
So yeah, 9 for us, Peg.
Yeah. Okay,
I know. We're not even up at 9.
really?
We'll be up. We'll do this. At least I sure will.
with
An
coffee and
invita-
toothpicks.
Yes, it's BYOC. Bring your own coffee.
You'll send us an invite?
Yes,
Yes.
you'll get everybody who's been on attended any RLI session will get an invite.
Okay.
And presidents of all the boards.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to ask everybody that gets an invite to invite their president.
Okay.
Okay. We'll try to drag my butt out of bed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take one for the team, Peggy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, so probably time to end this session. We're really, we're excited to have you all attend and really thankful for all your input. We wish you all good things going forward, and especially be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for
all of
coming.
you
Thank you,
again.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.